Well, on another topic that I know that the rabid online audience wants to hear your perspective on, the virus question, which I've asked as many people as I can about this, not necessarily because I feel like I have a stake in the matter so much as I don't really know what to make of the topic in terms of putting the evidence and that discussion aside. I want to speak for a moment about like the community around that. And I mean, I know you see it in your comments and on videos and online, like this sort of, there's lists of people like you and I, oh, they won't touch the virus question. It's become this kind of like, you're either with us or against us. Before we get into the actual topic and what you think about it, what do you say to that kind of approach, activists online or in person who are taking that like, oh, because James does good work, but he doesn't say this one thing I say, he must be controlled, et cetera.
Yeah, well, let me ask you, in your years of doing this, have you ever seen one of those litmus tests that are actually useful and productive? Because I have talked to people who don't believe 9/11 was an inside job. I have talked to people who believe climate change is the universal threat that we're all facing. I've talked to lots of people that I disagree with on certain things, I agree with on other things. Have you ever seen this kind of thing where it's like, if you believe this, you are excommunicated for all time, you're a shill, I will never listen to anything you do? That's actually useful and productive?
No, I've seen it be very destructive.
Yeah, and almost as if that's a plan, right?
So I'll take their side for a moment. I think they would probably offer, because this is what I've heard, well, because the no virus question is the, like solving that will make the whole house of cards crumble. I don't agree with that. I mean, I'll say before you propose is now we've seen climate change as another part of the narrative, and these folks I think are really exclusively focused on it. If we just get the world to see there's no virus or that it hasn't been isolated, which are legitimate questions, then the whole house of cards will crumble. And I think they're missing that these people will use alien invasions, terrorism, communism, climate change, anything. So it's not just, if they don't need the pandemic card, if they they can jump something else.
I'll go deeper than that, because, oh God, I wish there was someone asking me this question who was in that camp so that I could ask them this, but you will stand in and you will answer this question. So my question for you, all of you and you, is if, let's just say for the sake of argument, if there was something, either a virus or something that comported to that idea of a pathogenic thing that could be spread from person to person, if that existed, would governments have the right to violate your bodily autonomy?
I'd say no.
I would say no too.
Either way.
Anyone who says yes to that is not part of the health freedom movement, right? I think so. To me, it's missing the entire point of the past few years, the entire point of the biosecurity state, which is, hey guys, there's this communicable disease thing, therefore we get to violate your bodily autonomy. It is not an answer to that fundamental problem to say, oh, but that communicable pathogen doesn't exist, therefore, ... No, you have to attack the base philosophical issue. So the hypothetical question, because I know there are people who will say no virus, no pathogen exists whatsoever. But at any rate, the hypothetical question at base, if it existed, if there are communicable diseases, does that give the government the right to violate your bodily autonomy? I say not only no, I say hell no. Absolutely not. And if you agree with me on that, then we can absolutely talk about the details of how disease works.
I tend to feel the same way. If we're on the same page of that, then yes, there are other discussions to be had. Nobody's saying the no virus question should be censored or whatever, but I don't think it's serving the community to have lists of these people are on the, and the other thing is, it's sort of, that us versus them is so black and white that because if you don't interview this person or if you don't ask this question, then you must endorse germ theory and everything else that goes. There's no kind of room for kind of, maybe there's some gray area.
Because I think I've heard you say this before, and I've always felt this. Germ theory and terrain theory are not incompatible.
Yeah.
They go together, because yes, if you have a healthy immune system, that will, and how do you get a healthy immune system? By nutrition, by sunlight, by all of the things that terrain theorists will talk about. Absolutely, you have to have a healthy terrain, and then whatever pathogens are going to do whatever they do are not going to affect you in the same way, right? So that's...
Well, one other question on that. Have you happened to come across the work of Christine Massey, she's filed the FOIA request from different governments around the world? I haven't looked at every request. I have a feeling that there could probably be other reasons why they're coming back saying we don't have I mean, because if anybody's ever filed open records requests with government, even if you say the exact things you're looking for and you do it perfectly clear, sometimes they can come back and say they don't have stuff they do have, and you file it a different way with different words, and you might get it. So I feel like I don't know, but what have you come across that idea that there's no governments they're claiming they have no responsive documents?
I can't speak to Massey in particular and what she's done, but I do know of the idea of this. Yeah. And all I can say is I put in a FOIA request for the government to tell me that it isolated terrain, and they didn't have anything. Therefore, terrain theory doesn't exist. I don't know what to say. No, this is not. So are we really going to take as our standard what the government says or doesn't say, or they say they don't have anything on this, therefore it doesn't? I don't think that's the right.
That backs up my theory now.
I don't think that's quite the bottom line smoking gun at any rate.
Okay. All right.